Throughout the long history of Eastern Europe, religion, culture, and politics have intertwined to shape the identities of nations. Croatia, a small country in the heart of the Balkans, has been known for centuries as a predominantly Catholic region. However, in recent decades, a dramatic change has occurred. Islam, which was once only a shadow minority, has slowly begun to occupy a more significant position. The question is, how is it possible that Islam, which was once marginalized, is now growing again and is even rumored to be heading towards a majority position? Islam entered Croatia in the 15th century, along with the expansion of the Ottoman Empire into the Balkans. At that time, much of southern and eastern Croatia was under Turkish rule. The first Muslims in Croatia were not immigrants from far away, but local residents who converted to Islam due to the influence of Ottoman rule. However, after the collapse of the Ottoman Empire and the victory of the Habsburg power, Muslims in Croatia experienced extraordinary pressure. Many were expelled, killed, or forced to convert. Islam became a minority with almost no voice. During the Yugoslav era, under Tito's communist rule, all forms of religion were suppressed. Muslims, Catholics, and Orthodox alike have suffered the same fate: repression, restrictions, and marginalization. But in silence, the Muslim community in Croatia has survived, especially in areas such as Zagreb and Rijeka. After the collapse of Yugoslavia in the 1990s and the bloody Balkan Wars, Croatia became independent. Although the war left deep scars, religious freedom began to be constitutionally guaranteed. This is where the rise of modern Islam in Croatia began. Today, Islam in Croatia is growing not only quantitatively, but also qualitatively. The latest census data shows that the number of Muslims is increasing, both due to migration from Muslim countries such as Bosnia, Albania, and Kosovo, and due to conversion of local citizens. The Zagreb Mosque, magnificent and modern, has become the cultural and religious center of Croatian Muslims. Islamic schools have been opened, study centers have been established, and young Muslims are active in community organizations. Globalization and openness have also encouraged a more progressive Islamic discourse in Croatia. Muslim identity is no longer something to hide, but something to celebrate. Statistically, Croatia is still predominantly Catholic, but demographic trends show something interesting. The Catholic population has declined drastically due to urbanization, secularization, and low birth rates. In contrast, the Muslim population is growing steadily and is younger in terms of average age. If this trend continues for the next few decades, it is not impossible that Muslims will become the largest religious group in Croatia. Not because of conflict or invasion, but because of the changing social, economic, and cultural dynamics. However, the road to the majority position has not always been easy. Islam in Croatia still faces challenges: stereotypes, discrimination, and sharp identity politics. But on the other hand, interfaith dialogue is growing. Collaboration between Muslim and Catholic communities is taking place, and a spirit of tolerance is becoming a common foundation. Islam in Croatia is not just about numbers, but about contribution. Contribution to building a more open, just, and civilized society. The return of Islam to Croatia is part of the ongoing flow of history, a proof that religion, when practiced wisely, can be a force for enlightenment, not division. From a minority that was once almost gone, Islam is now slowly making its way to the center of Croatia's social scene, a transformation that is not only worth noting, but also contemplating. They are professionals, academics, businessmen, students, and also ordinary citizens who grew up in the midst of pluralism. They are not foreigners. They are Croatian citizens who were born and raised on the land, speak fluent Croatian, and love their country. Many of them are descendants of Bosnians who emigrated during the war, but the new generation is starting to form a dual identity: Muslim and Croat. They are active in politics, education, and culture. Some have even become well-known public figures and journalists. Interestingly, the image of Islam in Croatia tends to be more peaceful than in some Western European countries. This is due to the moderate, open, and dialogue-oriented approach of the Croatian Muslim community. The Croatian government also made history by becoming one of the European countries to sign an official agreement with the Muslim community. In 2002, Islam was recognized as the official state religion. Croatian Muslims were given the right to build mosques, establish schools, and access religious services in hospitals and the military. The mosque in Rijeka, which was completed in 2013, became a symbol of the integration of Muslims into modern Croatian society. The mosque not only functions as a place of worship, but also a center for culture, education, and interfaith dialogue. The young generation of Croatian Muslims are now playing a strategic role in shaping a positive image of Islam. They are active on social media, creating educational content, holding interfaith social activities, and building a network of Muslim entrepreneurs. With higher education and global access, they bring the spirit of Islam that is inclusive, progressive, and full of tolerance. They realize that the future of Islam in Croatia is not about domination, but about contribution. They want to be known not only for their religion, but for their work, ethics, and concern for others. The story of Islam in Croatia can be an important lesson for the world, that religious minorities can grow and coexist peacefully in a healthy democratic system. That Islam, if practiced with wisdom, can be a force for reconciliation and development. Croatia, a land once scarred by religious war, is now an example of how past wounds can open the door to new harmony, if all parties choose the path of peace. The story of Islam's return to Croatia is not just a demographic event. It is a civilizational narrative about how a faith has once again flourished in a land that once marginalized it. This is not about numbers. It is about hope. The hope that one day, regardless of majority or minority, all Croatians, Muslim, Catholic, Jewish, or atheist, will stand as equals, as brothers in one homeland. And Islam, with all its values of mercy and justice, will continue to operate not to dominate, but to give. Optimism comes from the growth of a vibrant Muslim community, increased education, and a more open understanding of religion. Realism comes from the challenges that remain real: global Islamophobia, narrow nationalist sentiments, and the potential for identity friction. But if history teaches us anything, it is that Croatia, once divided by religion, also has the potential to be a model for interfaith peace. The future of Islam there should not be determined by confrontation, but by cooperation. The phenomenon of the rise of Islam in Croatia is in line with the global spiritual awakening. At a time when many European societies are experiencing a void of meaning due to extreme secularism and the pressures of modernity, religion is again sought not as a rule, but as an answer. Islam, with its message of justice, peace, and the search for truth, is present as a soothing alternative, not to replace but to contribute value. Croatia, in this case, is a small picture of the world's greater dynamics, where identity and faith do not have to negate each other, but can complement each other. The return of Islam to Croatia carries an important message, that Islam can grow in a secular, modern, and pluralistic land without losing its original spirit. Muslims in Croatia do not shout about power. They work silently, building schools, writing books, having dialogues with neighbors, and becoming part of society. This is the face of Islam that is cool, intelligent, and empowered. The Islamic world can learn from Croatia that strength is not in numbers, but in quality, not in symbols, but in substance. Imagine a future where the call to prayer and church bells can echo without interfering with each other, where a priest and a pastor can sit together at the dialogue table, where Muslim and Catholic children can learn in one classroom, get to know each other, respect each other. Croatia, with its history of wounds and hopes, is on its way there. And Islam, once again, is not an enemy, but part of the answer. The role of Muslims in Croatia, then, is not only about preserving identity, but also about nurturing civilization, about presenting the universal values of Islam: justice, compassion, knowledge, and peace, in a context that is relevant and down to earth. It is not an easy journey. There are challenges, prejudices, and even pressures from within and without. But that is precisely where the value of the struggle is felt, when faith is lived with steadfastness, not violence, with wisdom, not hatred. The young generation of Croatian Muslims is growing up with 2 feet, one grounded in strong Islamic roots, the other stepping into the modern world with confidence. They are writing a future that is not trapped by historical trauma, but open to collaboration across faiths and cultures. In a world increasingly fractured by polarization, Croatia shows that reconciliation is possible. That identity does not have to be exclusive and reject others, but can be a bridge, connecting, not separating. And perhaps, precisely from a small place like Croatia, we can see a big mirror, that the world will be peaceful not when everyone is the same, but when everyone understands and appreciates differences. The lesson from Croatia is not only for Muslims there, but for all of us who live in an increasingly pluralistic world, where the boundaries of religion, nation, and culture intersect every day.
Allah